In this video, I want to talk about serial commas um, and when semicolons can be used in the place of a serial comma. Now, commas are often used to separate items in a series of 3 or more. I saw Jeremy, Joanna, Laurel yesterday. With his allowance, Cliff will buy gum, licorice, taffy, lollipops, and chocolate. So you see what's happening here. This comma is coming in between items in a series. Here, the direct objects. Here, it's a direct object. Here, these are verbs. These are prepositional phrases. We looked under the beds, comma, behind the sofas, comma, and in the drawers. So, these are, prepositional phrases in a series. And the series will always be 3 or more. When you have that, often you can put commas right in here. Instead of saying we looked under the beds, and behind the sofas, and in the drawers. Helen stretches and jogs and sprints and walks. You just put the commas. You do this all the time. This is a serial comma. That's what it's called. Now, sometimes the serial comma can come between patterns. In other words, there can be like a series of patterns in one sentence. Here are 3 patterns. Hannah and I washed a car. Jerry vacuumed the rugs. Polly cut the grass. You got subject, verb, direct object, subject, verb, direct object, subject, verb, direct object. Put them all in one sentence. You get Hannah and I washed a car, comma, Jeremy vacuumed the rugs, comma, and Polly cut the grass. So this right here is not a comma splice. In fact, it's a serial comma separating 3 elements. 1 pattern, 2 second pattern, 3rd pattern. So you do have a series going. You can make the case that's a serial comma. Well, what if the elements in the series have commas in them? Like, here are 3 cities, okay? Mission, Texas, Harvey, Ohio, and Sumter, Iowa. If you were to have a sentence, our team comes from Mission, Texas, Harvey, Ohio, and Sumter, Iowa, you see how all those commas kind of look just confusing? Well, what you can do here is put a colon between them. Okay. Now, what's understood with this is called the serial semicolon. And it's the one exception from the rule I gave you about checking to see whether your semicolon is correct by pulling it out and putting a period in there. This is the one exception because here it's understood that, okay, the semicolon is separating elements, 3 elements in a series, at least 3 or more. And the elements themselves have commas in them. So you can't use a comma to separate them because they have commas in them. It gets very confusing. So then we'll bump the comma up and kind of make it like a comma on steroids. And we'll use a semicolon here to be it's acting like the serial comma right here, okay? So here's another one. Favorite meals, eggs and bacon and pancakes, pot roast, mashed potatoes and green beans, a Reuben sandwich, kettle chips, and iced tea. Okay. His 3 favorite meals, it's all in one sentence now, okay? His 3 favorite meals are eggs, bacon, and pancakes. Now a semicolon here to separate the elements because of the comma here and the comma here. It wouldn't make sense to put a comma there. Then we're like, is the meal eggs, bacon, pancakes, pot roast, mashed, that's gross, eating all that together. Well, no, so that's one meal right here. And then you have another meal right here, okay. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, and green beans, there's your second meal. And then a Reuben sandwich, kettle chips, and iced tea. So since these elements have commas in them, we can separate the elements themselves with semicolons. So this is really like a serial comma, but, beefed up, as I said. So that's the difference between a semicolon that's used to combine patterns. And if it's done correctly, you can pull it out, right? And you can put a period in there. And you should have two patterns, 2 simple sentences on each side of the period. That's one type of semicolon. And that's, has a proper use. This is the serial semicolon. It doesn't work that way. You really can't, pull it out and put a period in. You just have to be able to see that the semicolon is being used to separate elements in a series, and the elements themselves have commas, so we shouldn't use commas to separate them, which we would rather do. Commas is the usual tool to separate elements in a series.